So, for someone who's aspiring to be a journalist, is it important for them to pursue journalism as education?
So it's not that you have to go to a journalism school, because what you learn in this profession is all hands-on. But then definitely a journalism school gives you some direction.
In the age of social media and AI, a lot of content creators in themselves are journalists.
To be a journalist, you have to have responsibility, and there are a lot of do's and don'ts. This is an age of social media, so there is no filter. People are free to write and say anything and everything. So that is definitely not journalism.
How do you think the advent of AI is important or will impact the careers of journalists? Because they can write the best of articles, they can give their own opinions, they can do all the fact checking.
Just imagine a new journalist joining this profession, and from day one he is not writing anything which comes from own pen, and he is completely dependent on AI for producing news. I think that's a dangerous thing.
You know, when you're reporting something, how important is it to be politically correct?
Yeah, I tell you, like, there is
As an entrepreneur, he built India Blooms from the ground up into a respected independent media network with multiple digital publications serving audiences across India and beyond. His journey offers a unique perspective on the challenges and opportunities of building a sustainable media business in the digital age. His unique vision offers a rare view into how a media business and society are evolving. My guest today is an accomplished journalist, media entrepreneur, and educator, Mr. Sujoy Dhar. He is the founder and group editor of India Blooms News Service, a 24/7 news portal and wire service, and has written for USA Today while also working with global media organizations including Thomson Reuters and the Washington Times. Beyond the newsroom, he is passionate about nurturing journalists. He teaches in North American universities on international journalism, programs that bring together students from India and the United States. Please welcome Mr. Sujoy Dhar. So, welcome, Mr. Sujoy, and thank you for sparing your time and giving your valuable time to us. So, if you can just take us through your journey, right from how you got into journalism, your education, your upbringing, and your entire story up till here, if you would like to share.
how I took to journalism. A lot of the people are, if you see the politicians, like why they are into politics, many of them cannot do anything else, so they are into politics. This holds true for a lot of people who are in journalism as well. So at some point, I realized that I am good for nothing. I mean, I cannot be anything else, and I was not interested in like studying hard, or like I was not even a good student. Like I was a very mediocre student, and so at some point I had to figure out what I should do, and then I realized that maybe I have some writing skills, and from there it was kind of a natural progression because I studied commerce actually.
Okay.
But after that, after my BCom honors, I actually joined this Calcutta University's Masters in Journalism, because that is the only department, that was the only department at that point of time where anyone can join, but you have to sit for a test.
Okay.
So you can come from commerce, science, arts, it doesn't matter.
The background
but
is
you
not
have to appear for a test, and if you clear that test, and it's pretty difficult, not that the question paper is difficult, but because you have a lot of competition. So I got into masters in journalism, and those were the days when there were no journalism schools around. The Calcutta University was the only one here.
Which year was
that?
this?
That was in the early 90s. I'm
Okay,
talking about, and so that's how it began. But definitely, you cannot learn everything in a classroom. So I started freelancing with Express Group and Telegraph and Statesman, then Times of India and all others. And I then joined a wire service called UNI. Like UNI and PTI used to be the two wire service then.
Okay.
So that is how I started.
Okay. So it's very interesting. You say कि अगर कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकता है तो politics में घुस जाता है, journalism में घुस जाता है. But as a layman, our impression is journalists are one of the most intellectual people out there. They shape how the society thinks. They shape the opinions. तो अगर आप ऐसे बोलेंगे तो मतलब हम लोग को तो डर लग जाता है whom are we following?
Not that exactly. I mean, ऐसा नहीं है. मतलब you have to study a lot, but then it is not a syllabus oriented education.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so to be a journalist, to be an accomplished journalist, you have to be very responsible. You have to be more responsible than people in many other profession. That is one. And by education, what I meant is like the stereotype education that we get, because in journalism you are kind of a jack of all trade, so you have to have interest in news, in geopolitics, in everything that is happening around you. If you are taking a bus from like say Garia Hat to Park Street in Calcutta, you have to be very observant. If you see what are the political posters around you, what are the new films, so you have to be very observant. It's not such a not what people think. I mean, until and unless you are observant and you are intelligent as well, not just intellectual, because definitely a lot of people are intellectual, but you have to be very intelligent as well. So and definitely the gift of language and writing skill or whatever.
So, for someone who's aspiring to be a journalist, is it important for them to pursue journalism as education, or do you feel someone, as you said, coming from a commerce background, you yourself are from commerce background, was that true during the early 1990s, or does that still hold true?
See, definitely you need not go to a journalism school to be a journalist. That is what I believe. Because the base students go to IIT Kharagpur or IIT Kanpur and Delhi, and they are not into journalism.
Correct.
But then some of them ask them to write a good article, they can do it perhaps better than me. So it's not that you have to go to a journalism school, because what you learn in this profession is all hands on. But then definitely a journalism school gives you some direction, and sometimes you come from a background where there is nobody in your family who is a journalist, and so you don't know where to start. For me, like I studied commerce, but then I wanted to be a journalist, so I appeared for this test, cleared it, and joined this department, and that gave me some impetus, and that gave me the kind of inspiration, the motivation to kind of find some direction in this profession. So what I immediately did is, after enrolling myself for journalism, I started looking for opportunities to freelance. So that is how I began. So definitely I learned something in the classroom, but then I followed it up with practical endeavors, and definitely freelancing is one good way to start.
Understood.
But you can go to journalism school, and definitely in India there are so many journalism schools, but if you go through the statistics, they produce very few good journalists.
Okay.
Except maybe one place, which is Asian College in the south. Okay.
Okay.
So if and that's not very easy to get there, because all others are welcoming you with open arms, because definitely it's about money.
Correct.
But otherwise, I think it's more important that you should focus more on news
So,
and writing, and definitely if you want to be a television journalist, anchoring, and how well you articulate and all that.
So is journalism as a profession a lucrative option, a lucrative business? So, for example, if you ask someone, earlier used to be किसी को doctor बनना है, engineer बनना है. In the last decade and a half, 2 decades, it was MBA, finance, right? So how would you rank journalism as a profession in terms of someone, or let's say being a parent? Would a parent, or should a parent advise their kids to become a journalist?
I think like you just compared journalism with other profession like medicine or engineering. I think it's not comparable at all.
Okay.
Okay. And so you just mentioned engineers. Okay, so only maybe 2-3 years ago, an IT engineer, and now like after AI and all, things completely changed.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So things change in journalism as well. There was a time when I joined journalism when middle class people they could become a journalist and dream bigger. And by dream, I don't mean earning a lot of money, but definitely they can dream of going places like meeting celebrities and going abroad and do all sorts of things. That was possible through journalism if you are hardworking, if you're intelligent, and definitely some talent. But now I would not advise anybody to just join journalism just like that, because this is also a new era, and everything has changed. People are into content creation. Every second person is a content creator. So if you want to serious journalism, you have to really, really understand the profession and know all the pitfalls, and then join this profession.
So, for example, let's say an engineer or an MBA or anyone getting into employment have a basic salary, right? Even a starting salary without any experience, without any work profile. Is that also true for journalism?
It is true for journalism, but that's a pittance. I mean, it's like 10,000, 15,000, max 20,000, 25,000, not more than that if you are starting as a rookie journalist.
Understood. Understood. So, for a journalist to become successful, or for someone wanting to get into the media field, what would be your suggestion on what do you think is the ideal way, or the way which has minimum risks involved in it, where even if you fall, you are not hurt so badly.
Yeah, if you talk about journalism, I mean, journalism is just not one thing. I mean, if we talk about media and communication, I think that's a entire gamut of opportunities there. So you can join as a journalist, and then you can move to PR. Okay.
Okay.
You can join as a journalist, you can move to corporate communication.
Alright.
And a lot of journalists are actually joining corporate communication because you just asked how rewarding it is. If you worked as a journalist for say 5 years or 10 years or even 15 years, and then you join corporate communication, then you start actually earning money. I know people, I have friends who were very accomplished journalists, but they were never earning a lot of money. But once they join corporate communication and in the corporate sector, they are earning, what they had never bargained for. So definitely a lot of opportunities are there. And but then you have to be a journalist and understand media and news and content creation, content writing. So it is a journey. So at some point you can decide whether I will remain with journalism or I will choose something else which is more financially rewarding.
So today, in the age of social media and AI, a lot of content creators in themselves are journalists, or I would say, I mean, someone is reporting an issue with the roads are not well made, right? Someone is saying some other issue, or someone is taking videos of of beggars on the street and putting it up on social media, right? So that is kind of a journalism where you are bringing issues in front of the society for them to take notice and to have public opinion, right? Uh, how do you compare that vis-a-vis the journalists who are doing a professional job? But do you feel there are any synergies between the two?
Maybe there are synergies, but definitely I think these two are totally different ball games.
Okay.
So to be a journalist, you have to be very accountable. You
Okay.
have to have responsibility, and there are a lot of do's and don'ts. This is an age of social media and no holds barred social
Absolutely.
media.
Absolutely.
So there is no filter, there is no gatekeeping, and people are free to write and say anything and
Correct.
everything. So that is definitely not journalism. That may be what you call it, citizen journalism or whatever.
That's a very interesting thought. And one of my questions to you is, when you're reporting something, or when you're giving your viewpoint, or writing an article, or maybe making a vlog, or whatever it is, how important is it to be politically correct? Versus how important is it to take sides or give your true opinion? Because you said you cannot write anything and everything. You cannot express yourself freely, in the sense that you have to be judgmental in what you put out there. So is being politically correct or taking the middle path an important aspect of being a journalist?
Yeah, I tell you, like, there is news. Okay, so when it comes to news, for example, something big happens, there is a terror attack or something, then what you are reporting is fact.
Correct.
So there cannot be any interpolation, anything. I mean, you have to cross check, fact check. You have to have sources, attribution, and then produce a news. So when it comes to news, hard news, like objectivity is essential, it is sacrosanct. But when it comes to writing, maybe there is an incident or something, and after that incident, next day you are writing an editorial, or maybe you are writing a column. Definitely, you have your opinion, and there can be a disclaimer. Sometimes a lot of people write opinion pieces, so there are disclaimers. And for a newspaper house or for a media house, they can have their own editorial policies, and so that's okay, perfectly fine. Look, I started my career with where service journalism or news agency journalism, where we have to be objective, neutral. That does not mean that I am a neutral person myself. Like, we all have our political views and very strong political views. But then when it comes to our job, that's called professionalism. I think to be a professional journalist is very important that you follow certain ethics. So when it comes to news, make sure that you are not diluting it with any false narrative. And when it comes to views, you are free to express your opinion. So there are these two components, and you can, for a newspaper, they can combine the two. And now that you see a lot of almost everything so polarized, like the journalists and
Correct.
journalism, the media houses and
So heads
everything.
or tails
Yeah,
ever.
yeah. One of the reason I tell you, it's not always that people are like taking sides because they are very politically conscious or something. One of the reasons is definitely economics. So, for a very long time, the revenue model is
The
very
ads.
hard to crack in journalism. So, so a lot of media houses are into holding conclaves and raising that money from there, because we all know the attention span is small. You produce a newspaper, but how many people read it? I mean, they are delivered maybe at your house, and but then maybe end of the day you just go through a few pages, because you're getting your news on the mobile phone all the time. So, and even people don't even click that. I mean, they just read the headline and move on to the next thing. So it's a very difficult situation there, and the industry is trying to figure that out. And so that is the reason sometimes you think a certain media house is siding with the ruling party or whatever, but then it's also survival.
Correct. One last question with regards to journalism before we come to your entrepreneurial journey is that how do you think the advent of AI these days specifically is important or will impact the careers of journalists, because they can write the best of articles, they can give their own opinions, they can do all the fact checking, right? So, what is your opinion on what will be the impact of AI in journalism?
I think the impact of AI in journalism is, it's a great thing for people like us, because we started with writing with our hands, going to library for research work, and then sitting with a dictionary and all that. From there to AI is unimaginable. But just imagine a new journalist, a rookie journalist, a greenhorn joining this profession, and from day one, he is not writing anything which comes from his own pain, and he is completely dependent on AI for producing news. I think that's a dangerous thing. So I think we have to draw a line somewhere and balance things, and only like people who are little accomplished, they can make better use of AI than the greenhorn journalists. They can fall in the trap because it takes like a few seconds to write an article
Correct.
with the help of AI.
Correct.
But then this is not the way to be a journalist, because that is going to be short lived, I tell you. Uh, AI cannot do everything like a human. We assume that it can, but then if you are a seasoned journalist, you have like worked as a journalist for years, and now you have a tool. We have to use AI like a tool, and not like it is a magic potion or something, or a magic wand. So I think it's very important that media houses also have their own rules, because I don't know if you have heard this interesting story. There was a very famous newspaper in Pakistan called Dawn. And in that
I did.
newspaper, an article came with all the AI prompts.
Correct.
Okay, so you can understand what can happen with AI.
While copy pasting,
Yeah, copy pasting thing, it
correct.
can happen anytime. So you have to be very intelligent as well and responsible, and then you can use AI. So I don't know, like I don't know how it's going to pan out, but definitely we have to have some control.
All right. Now, coming to the next phase of your life, which is your entrepreneurial journey, what made you take that leap of faith from being a journalist to being an entrepreneur or having your own venture in the media field? Did you see a particular opportunity? Was it a necessity? You didn't have any other options, or was it an opportunity which you felt would be a loss for you if you did not pursue it? What was the entire thought process, and what was the trigger for you?
Okay, I mean, we can say a lot of interesting thing about a trigger, but then the reality is that I wanted to be on my own.
Okay.
That is one reason. And then what is my quality? Like what is the only thing that I know, and that is journalism. So I thought that this is the best thing I can do. Like if I have earned enough experience, and now if I use this experience to kind of transition into something else where I can use the same experience and then build a small business, because for me it was not about a lot of money, it was about independence.
Okay.
So I still consider myself an independent journalist, and my ventures as something which actually helped me in being independent and remain free. So that's how I started. But I started my entrepreneurial journey in 2002 actually. There was a senior journalist in Telegraph, and she was my mentor as well. And together, and then she left Telegraph and on her own was freelancing. And then one day, I used to look up to her because she was senior, she was one of the editors commissioning me articles and all. And then one day I asked her like whether we can start something together. And she was traveling, and then when she came back from abroad, we sat in a cafe. There were not many cafes in Calcutta that time. And then we jotted down a few points and started a feature service. It's called Transworld Features, and it's still there actually.
Okay.
As some of the newspapers in India subscribe to us.
Okay. Feature service क्या होता है?
Feature service is like the supplements, Sunday supplements and Saturday supplements.
Correct.
There you usually get soft stories or
Correct.
analytical stories. So we started with a feature service.
Okay.
And then with internet, I have a friend, and he was working the Sector 5 in Calcutta in the IT industry, and he was a designer as well. So we sat one evening and decided to start a portal. That was 2008, and we started IndiaBlooms.com. And maybe early bird advantage. So we were blessed by Google, and we started appearing on Google News. It's very difficult now, I tell you. Okay. And that's how I started India Blooms. And because I'm a journalist and a professional journalist, the content part at least was always very professionally done. It was never amateurish. But definitely our finance, the management, definitely we had taken a long time to figure that out. But miraculously we survived somehow with some kind of lifeline or other. We survived, and now we have converted into a private limited company very recently, and we are trying to go for shareholding. And so we have started a different journey altogether.
Okay.
But then somehow miraculously we survived. Even during the COVID, we were able to make some money and sustain ourselves and my small team.
So, what exactly are your products or services, and what exactly is the business model? Who are your customers? Who writes the articles for you? Are they whole-time, full-time employees? Are they freelancers? Then who buys those articles? How do you? What is the entire business model?
Okay, you want to know that? Yeah, definitely. We started with a news portal. We started just like that. One fine evening, I would say, we sat and were looking for some domain names and got one and started it. And then slowly I built a small team. and this team, they are all journalists. Some of them actually went to journalism school. So I used to go there as a guest lecturer. So I would pick some good intelligent student from there, and they became part of India Blooms, and most of them are still there. And some of them, for some of them, it really worked because they wanted to be independent. Some of them have also have a other business, but they love journalism and they wanted to do it. So that's how I built my team. And we started as a news portal. But what happened for the news portal? I'm generating news because I came from news agency background. Like I worked with news agency like Reuters and IANS and others. So I started syndicating that content.
Okay.
So I started pitching other newspapers,
What do you
and
mean
with the
by
feature
syndicating?
service also.
What do you mean by syndicating?
Huh?
What do you mean by syndicating the
By
content?
syndicating, for example, you have a newspaper and you need content for that newspaper.
Correct.
So you get that content like 24/7, you get that content from maybe a news agency like PTI. Okay.
Correct.
You have to subscribe to a news agency for that. If you want video content, maybe you need that content from ANI.
So what is the difference between a news agency, a wire, a media house? How is the entire ecosystem?
It's also a media house.
Okay.
It is also a media house. We say wire service because the news is to be transmitted by wire. That's the reason those days. Now with internet, it's meaningless actually. But a news agency is one which generates news like any other media house. Ideally should be objective,
Okay.
especially in a country like India. It's a democracy, functional democracy. It should be objective. We are not a totalitarian country. And then we distribute that news to others. So you run a news portal, or you now run a television channel, or you run a newspaper. You need that news, so you buy it from us, you subscribe to us, and then we sell that news to you.
Understood.
So that was a revenue model when I started.
Okay.
But it's not the revenue model anymore.
Okay.
Now my revenue model is native ads, or what you call sponsored post. In the newspaper parlance, they say advertorial.
Correct.
That advertorial is now called guest post or sponsored post, and also it's called native ads. So it's like article. For example, there's a company, say ICICI Bank or insurance or Bajaj Finance. They want to place an article, and that article is written like an article, and they place some links there.
Correct.
So that is how those are ads actually, and we have to mandatorily mention that it's sponsored post. Then we get some money from Google Ads. It's small, but then to be on Google is very important. So that is one. I still have the syndication. Some people buy articles from us, subscribe to us. And so it's a mix of, and then we sometimes have projects like we build news portals for others.
So let's say, suppose anyone, who's a journalist today wants to again become independent like you, or maybe get into the media business, or be on his own, start his own venture. What are the opportunities that you see in the media industry, where you feel there's a lot of promise, there's a lot of gap in terms of demand and supply, or there's a lot of quality work that can be done which can then be monetized? So for anyone, let's say, who approaches you as a journalist, what would your suggestion be to them in terms of opportunities which are available?
Look, I can share my experience, what I have done. I mean, if you want to be a journalist, if you want to remain in journalism and not be like a random content creator, because that's a totally different field altogether. I don't know how they earn.
Correct.
How I hear all some fancy figures and all that, so I have no idea about that. If you are talking about journalism, then the best way perhaps is to kind of start with a news portal and start populating that portal with content. And if you are a journalist who worked as a professional journalist, you know how to do it. You don't put random things. And then you can, what you see, that you can ensure that portal becomes popular, and you generate unique content. And then if you are into Google and search engines, then the ads will follow. These sponsored ads will follow. So that is one way of doing it.
So is the competition less there?
Definitely not. Definitely not. The competition is there, but definitely you can also have a marketing team, and they can get ads for you. And now it's all integrated. Like you have your social media handles, so you can earn from definitely YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. So you can combine all, but then you have to have a central newsroom, or
News generating.
a central like a living room, and that can be perhaps the news portal that you have. And so even if you are a newspaper, for example, if you are like a newspaper like Times of India or Hindustan Times or Indian Express, so how many of us are actually reading the newspaper? We are going to their website. But when you are reading BBC or CNN or Times of India, you know that this news comes with some authenticity and some responsibility. They may be irresponsible sometimes, but then like they are professionals.
Correct.
Okay. So this is how you can start. You can start first. You gain some experience.
But then, what do you think is the probability of success? Is it the probability of success is high, or is it a very minuscule chunk?
Not high, neither minuscule.
Okay.
Okay. If you are serious, very serious, and if you understand the
So,
profession,
how much money would be required to start such a business?
you can start with just 1 lakh rupees perhaps.
Okay.
Okay. And then you can scale up.
Okay.
But then if you want to scale up, you want to go for other people to join your venture and all, then it has to be done in a different way perhaps. But if you are absolutely independent, that the way I started, like I had nothing in mind, I just wanted to start a portal and started.
Which year was this?
Huh?
Which year was this?
This was 2008. This was 2008.
And how much money did you invest at that time to
Nothing actually.
Okay.
My time. And maybe the basic, like you have to have a domain name, maybe 1,000 rupees for the domain name or something. But we actually invested our time, our experience, and we took great risk actually, because I could have joined some lucrative job.
So,
okay.
Can anyone do this both simultaneously?
What?
Like being a journalist and employed, or maybe doing their own journalism and also starting their own venture and
yeah, many of them are doing it like that actually. So maybe there's a period where they're doing both, and then they take the leap and like be on their own. So many of them are doing like that.
So for an talking from a point of view, an investor, right, someone who invests capital, there's a lot of capital waiting, or in the Indian economy, which is waiting to be deployed in good opportunities around industries, around cities. Would you do you see opportunities in the media industry for someone to invest money and get good returns out of it? Or would you say that media industry is only for those who's already have established their names, or have established a market, or have an established reputation for them to encash?
It's both actually. I think the established media houses are already there, so they know how to figure out and all. But definitely people can invest in media, but you have to understand media business is not like any other business. It's not like selling an essential commodity. Okay. It is not like if having a company which produces like something edible.
Correct.
Okay. So and then you have so many of them. The market is already very crowded. But definitely you can start from the scratch, and then if your intention is good, and if you know your job well, then people can invest and they can scale up. And another reason I think people can invest in journalism, they do not always invest it for money, even in those days.
Correct.
And it gives you power. And I don't mean you are misusing that power or you are aligning with a political party, but then definitely media empowers you. So a lot of business people who are into some other profession, who are into some other business, are also investing, parking some money in media business, because that is also seen as an extension of that particular business. So that is a good idea, I think, because there should be some logic, and definitely it cannot be there just in the air. So there should be a method in that madness. And media is definitely one sector where people can invest and get a return in a very different way.
Different way, as in a good way, or
Of course, good way.
or just in the power sense.
Yeah, power is not bad thing actually. I mean, by power I don't mean that the power to misuse something.
Absolutely.
For example, you have a product. For example, you have a product, you are
Correct,
selling,
absolutely. The reach is there.
you are selling some electronics or whatever, and then if you have a media house and you can promote that,
Correct.
then what is wrong in that? There is nothing
Absolutely.
wrong in that.
Absolutely.
That is nothing unethical. If you are aligning with a political party, that is different thing, and people understand, and people still watch you because they also are like-minded. But then if you are using your platform, because after all we are also dependent on the ads, okay? So if I'm getting that ad from a tourism board or a finance company, then what is wrong in a finance company actually having their own platform
Absolutely
and
nothing.
investing money in that?
Correct.
So that is good idea, I think, or rather that is good for journalism. Because if all the political parties start investing money, parking their money in journalism, that's not good. Definitely it's better to have corporates there, so it can become a really credible platform for young journalists, as well as those who are working so hard and sacrificing so much to kind of reach somewhere as a journalist.
So, would you advise your child, right, to get into the media business and take the risk of investing his life savings into that business? Do you see that opportunity there, or do you feel कि यार life saving तो invest मत करो, have that safety net, and do it if you can, else don't do it, do something safe?
Of course, I would suggest next generation to do something safe. But at the same time, it's not that always you choose journalism. Sometimes journalism also chooses you. Okay.
Okay.
So I think it happens. Like that dialogue, wo puri kainat saath deti hai, or whatever. So it happens.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. So it's you cannot, if you have that thing inside you, at some point you will. Maybe you are into some other business, but then why are you into a podcast? So it is something which chooses you, and at some point you understand that you need that platform.
Correct.
And you want to, all of us want to express ourselves. So if you choose journalism, maybe you can express yourself more structured way and more professionally, and with more responsibility towards the society.
So, for someone wanting to enter into the media business or the journalism business, uh, are there some check boxes or checkpoints which you would say that these should be ticked before you enter into this industry? कि अगर आपके पास नेटवर्क है तो ही आप एंटर करो, अगर आपके पास पैसा है तो ही आप एंटर करो, ऐसा कोई आपके पास पॉइंट्स है या बोलेंगे कि नहीं अगर कोई पॉइंट्स नहीं भी हो देन यू कैन स्टिल ट्राई योर लक?
कोई पॉइंट्स नहीं भी हो, still you can try. Okay. I don't think that you have to check any box, but definitely, like from where you are coming, like if it is like me, जो एक journalist की तरह start किया, like worked hard for many years and then gained experience and then started a business, is different thing. But for someone who actually is into a business or something, and then we all know now people who are journalists and friends, and then they think that maybe I can invest some money in this, but then definitely with the safety net, don't invest everything, don't park all your money in journalism. That's definitely not a good idea. So it's better that you taste the water first, and उसके बाद धीरे धीरे आप उसमें जाओ.
Understood. No, makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. Can you also please just shed some light on how you got into teaching, and what made you get into that stream of interacting with the young minds, or where did that opportunity from the USA or from from Canada or from any other place? How did it start?
How it happened? Yeah, definitely. So after like almost a decade in journalism, like all of these journalism schools and colleges and media, I mean, this apart from this university, there are some institutes also. They start
Correct.
inviting you
Correct.
for like as a guest lecturer.
Absolutely.
And I remember first I was asked by University of Calcutta, my department, to be an external examiner, and that's how it started. and then people start inviting you to come to their class and speak. So this is how it started. Now for me it's very interesting. One of my journalism academic partner actually is someone from USA. Her name is Laura. So she was actually visiting India in 2007, most probably,
Okay.
on a fellowship to write on cervical cancer.
Okay.
And her interpreter was my former chief reporter. Okay.
Okay.
So that's how we met. And then, and we instantly connected because we are both journalists, maybe in different parts of the world, but then something that connects is definitely democracy, because we both are like from two independent,
Correct.
free democratic
The
countries.
oldest and the largest.
Yeah, and then I was already into some international journalism and writing, and then I remember we went to a small cafe in the Star Mark that time in South City. South City had just opened, and we decided that we should do something together. And then I took her to my department in the University of Calcutta, another journalism school here in Kolkata, and then another newly opened state university. And there we had our kind of lectures or whatever. We had our talk. And after that, she went back to USA and started pitching the same to the universities there. She's from Louisville in Kentucky. So she pitched all of our program and talks to some of the universities in Midwest in USA.
Okay.
And then one university wanted us to come and sponsor my trip and all that. And so, but at the last moment it backed out, okay, because they diverted that fund for some other visit to Kerala and all. So what happened, but Laura was like not to take down defeat lying down. So what she did is like she approached all the universities in her province, and they all wanted to have our lectures. So they would
Okay.
pay us like $200, $500, $300, $150, and thus we had 7 universities and one society for professional journalists funding something, and we had a corpus. And with that money, I traveled to USA and started teaching there together. That's our like a joint classroom.
Understood.
And then we realized that we are kind of going with the flow, and we understand what where I should stop and where she begins and all that. So it was a very good synergy, and that's how I started. And then for next 2 years we did it like that. After that, University of Kentucky, they started a program, journalism program, and that was a fund for us.
Okay.
And we started like that. And then in 2016, University of Missouri invited us for a program, and since then we did it uninterruptedly till 2024. And even during the pandemic, we did it online. So that is how I started it. And then she also visits India, and we together talk in the various journalism schools and departments here. And then I go every year, once in a year, and sometimes twice for the fall semester and sometimes for the spring semester, and run our journalism program.
But you said only till 2024?
Yeah, 2024, because after 2024, a lot of things changed in USA, you understand. And then the universities did not have fund.
Correct.
But maybe we will reinvent our program, and we are working on that actually. And maybe with Canada, perhaps we'll do something now.
So what experience did you have teaching in the USA or in Canada? How different is it from the Indian education system, specifically the journalism stream? And what is the difference that you see between the two countries?
I think it's more practical oriented there, which is a very good thing. And look, the universities have great infrastructure, and by infrastructure I do not mean only just a nice studio or an FM station or something. I mean, they know how to kind of I mean, I remember, like, I was in a classroom, and that was in University of Georgia, and there was a teacher there, and she was actually telling the students how to cover a particular program in that city, and giving them all the leads. And when I was in that classroom, just I happened to be in that classroom, and because we had a meeting after that, so we were a little early, so I was in the classroom, and I saw that she was actually giving them exactly the direction which an editor would give a junior reporter.
Understood.
So that's very interesting. I think that is the difference between here and there. And also, they have better people to teach. If they are inviting me from India, that does not mean that I'm a very big journalist or I'm great, that they do not have good journalists. No, because it's an international program. And in an international program, they really want to have somebody from a country like India with 1.4 billion people and a vibrant democracy and like so many and a huge media scene. So that's the reason they invite me year after year for more than a decade and a half actually. So I think that's the difference.
So, do you think the compensation which they pay to the teaching faculty, does that make a difference in the quality of teachers that we have here in India and the USA? I know, as a matter of fact, for different streams and different courses, at least in entrepreneurship, I know for a fact that this makes a huge difference, because in the USA and in the Northern American continent, the teachers are very, very well paid. Right, and compared to India, where teaching is a fallback option if something else does not work.
I think that is true. Definitely, that is true. But at the same time, the problem in India is that you hire a PhD to teach journalism. That actually makes no sense, because you rather hire a person, a journalist who actually covered a beat for maybe 5 years.
Correct. And on-field
Yeah,
experience.
so this is absolutely something which is hands-on experience. So even if you have a smart podcast studio or a drone and everything, it doesn't make any sense, because unless you have professional journalists teaching in your classroom. So there, what I have seen is that a lot of these journalists who are actually like teachers now worked in journalism, been editor, senior editor, and so they know what they are teaching, what they want, and what they want to impart to the students. So that makes a huge difference, which is very difficult in India, because here absolutely it's a different ball game altogether. I mean, nobody, no, I mean, university or journalism institute would hire a journalist or like a senior journalist and compensate and ask him to teach in a classroom. So that makes a difference.
So, do they also teach AI as part of the curriculum in the US or here in
in
India
in journalism,
in journalism?
no, I mean, but then AI is now embedded in anything that you teach. So um, how to use AI ethically, I think that's something a lot of the universities are teaching, and there are also workshops and like training programs on use of AI, and so that is now part of journalism. But at the same time, it's not like a separate like subject or anything. But definitely, it's now seen as a tool. So this age, you have to know how to use AI. I mean, the very simple way we do is like go to ChatGPT and do anything and everything all the time. But then, as a journalist, how you should use AI actually needs some training and some workshops.
Correct. Uh, do you think there is anything which the Indian upcoming journalists from India should or can learn from the upcoming journalists in the USA? Or let's say, what are the differences in the way that they report? Or do you see any fundamental differences between journalism or how journalism is practiced in the two countries?
Yeah, I think I worked with Reuters for several years, and one thing I have learned from there is that they have a beautiful template, and that template is very important. I, as a journalist, do not use that template all the time. I mean, I improvise, I do things my way, and I do not even agree with everything that is there in that template. But that template is very important.
Template, the US have
Yeah,
it?
international journalism I'm
Okay.
talking about.
Okay.
Like if you are working with an international media house, there are certain things you have to have when you file a article, a story or whatever. But then in Indian journalism, the problem is that you are not always held accountable for everything that you say or show. So the sourcing part is very important, and also they have this template of how to write an article, the structure, which is very important. And even for television, I'm sure they have that. And because in India there's more noise, but maybe back because we as a country is a very loud country, and our entertainment and everything is totally different from what is in the West. But at the same time, I think it's very important that you at least uh, kind of pick some of the good things about their way of teaching journalism, and also the way they practice journalism. And that template is very important. I mean, you just can't mention a person. For example, I tell you, a lot of the Indian journalists, they when they mention a political party, for example, they use a short form.
Correct.
In international journalism, they never do that. I mean, how can you assume that I know everything? Or maybe if you are traveling abroad, you land in India after maybe 15 days, and you pick up the newspaper or a news story from your mobile phone, and you start reading. And then when you are reading, you have no context. I
Correct.
mean, they are reporting what happened today, maybe. But if you have no context, and if you do not have a nut graph, one very important word in international journalism or journalism in the Western media is nut graph. Like there should be one paragraph where you sum up the story and the context, why you are writing that story, and how it connects with all the components in that story. So these are a few things which I think we as Indian journalists should pick up. But increasingly, I mean, it's getting difficult because the profession is in doldrums itself, and the kind of people who used to come and join the journalism are avoiding. So it's a very difficult situation that way.
One very interesting thing that you brought up is accountability. Uh, and I know as a matter of fact that for any non-compliance issue or for any misreporting, there's a huge hefty fines in the USA, right? Now, whether you take the example of marketing or the misleading ads, or
Hmm.
whether it be the disclosures that you make on the food packet,
Hmm.
etc. I know US is very very hard on that, right, and punishing that very very different from what happens in India. Uh, are the journalists in the USA also made accountable to that extent in terms of their reporting, or for example, if there is any misreporting or if there is any misinterpretation of any factual events, how do they treat it?
I mean, they treat it very seriously. First of all, when you are filing an article, a story, a news story, there's an editor, and like you are asked like 20 questions on whatever you have written, even if you are a seasoned senior reporter. Okay, so that is what you call a lot of gatekeeping.
It's a
Okay,
quality check.
yeah, quality check and checks and balances. I mean, there are people who are actually going through your story and asking questions. Some of those questions may appear very stupid questions to
Correct, the
you,
cross
but
referencing.
even then they ask those questions, and you have to answer those questions till your article story is passed. So that is missing here for many reasons, of course, like cost saving and all that. And a lot of the senior journalists are losing their jobs. Like that's happening everywhere. That's the bloodbath is everywhere, more in USA than in India perhaps. So definitely accountability is much more there, but that does not mean that everything about us is bad. No,
Absolutely not.
not at all. I mean, even there is a lot of irresponsible media
100%.
abroad, but definitely they have to go through a system, so
Do
which
you
is
think?
important.
Or do you have any suggestions for the government uh, to make any policy changes or to make any changes with regards to making journalism better in the country, having more accountability, or promoting the good things which are happening around the country? Because most of the time the news is covered with negative news and the negative things. Any particular suggestion or any particular want that you have on behalf uh, of the journalism community, or as a journalist with so much experience, to the government?
Look, the government. should intervene less. That's what I think.
Okay.
Because if you have to protect the independence of journalism, the less they interfere, the better. So, but having said that, definitely you cannot have misleading reports. Or in times of war, for example, there should be some checks and balances.
Correct.
I mean, you cannot just be no holds barred, jaise kuch bhi aaya likh diya.
Correct.
Because even during the
The
last
2611.
year's Operation Sindoor and all, we saw a lot of false, misleading stories and reports. हमने ये कब्जा कर लिया, वो कब्जा, या ऐसा नहीं चलता. मैंने this is, it's not like that.
Correct.
I mean, so in times of war, or maybe like a, I mean, extraordinary situation like we had during COVID time, government can impose certain restrictions on media. But otherwise, I mean, the less the government intervene, the better. But definitely, there should be strong laws in the country, which are already there, and defamation laws, because you most of the time people are defaming people without any fact. And so this should not go on the way it is happening now. It's like no holds barred. So government can definitely ensure that your privacy is protected, that your reputation is protected, but otherwise less they interfere in journalism, the better, I think.
Understood. Now, final thoughts. Any final message or anything that you would want to convey to upcoming journalists or people who are looking to enter the media business? Any suggestions you have? Any thoughts you have?
I don't want to sound preachy, of course, but definitely what I would say is it's a long game. Okay. So it's a long game, and only 5 to 10% of our attempts are successful, and the 90% is actually the price we pay for that admission. So don't think things will happen overnight. So you have to be persistent. If you want to stay in this game, then you have to be persistent and structurally persistent, and have to be patient. And definitely you should invest some time in understanding your profession, not just how you write, or how you report, or how you take a picture, but also understand this profession. Because if you do not understand the profession itself, then you won't be able to survive with all your talent or quality that you have. So that is very important: patience, hard work, and definitely kind of that presence of mind, which is very important.
Correct, correct. I think that advice coming from you is a gold mine for the upcoming journalists and people wanting to get into the media business and people wanting to be freelancers or independent. I thank you so much for your time, for your valuable time sharing your experiences and your thoughts. I'm really, really thankful. Thank you so much for being here, for coming here, and look forward to interacting with you more in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having me in your show. So
Thank you. Thank you
I
so
really
much.
enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.